Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep into a topic that, well, it feels like it defines so much right now. The speed, the temperature of modern life, and honestly, a lot of our internal world too, anger.
It really does. It's everywhere.
And the material we looked at, it offers this really liberating insight. It says anger isn't some fixed, inherent part of you.
Right. It's not just who you are.
It's a conditioned habit. And because it's learned, the really hopeful part is it can absolutely be unlearned.
That's the core message, yeah.
So our mission in this deep dive is to kind of extract that practical roadmap, the path toward freedom that's laid out in these, well, these powerful notes we studied.
And we have to understand the stakes here right from the start, because the wisdom traditions shared in this material, they suggest the most critical fight we face isn't, politics or what's happening on the global stage.
Is something subtler.
Much subtler. It's this slow erosion, almost invisible, of our ability to see clearly, to think for ourselves, and crucially to respond with wisdom instead of just immediate blinding reactivity.
And that erosion, that kind of fog clouding our vision, that's fueled by this very thing we're dissecting, the anger.
Exactly. The anger we carry around, the rage maybe we inherit from our families, and often the anger we just, well, deny. We push it down until it explodes, often in our closest relationship.
Right. It comes out sideways.
It does. But look, this isn't about shaming anger or trying to just, stuff it down. The goal here is really to understand its mechanisms and to remember that potential for freedom beyond it.
That freedom exists.
It exists. And you just have to look around the world right now. Unresolved anger, it's shaping everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's fueling divisions that feel, well, insurmountable sometimes.
Yeah.
It's whispering in personal relationships, creating friction. And it's shouting in the headlines, constantly demanding our attention, our reaction.
Okay, so let's start by mapping this out. This landscape of anger. If freedom really begins with recognizing anger is conditioned, like a habit, not some fundamental truth about us, what are the forces, the cultural things, the internal patterns that actually create this conditioning?
Well, the material's super clear on this. Anger is not your true essence. It's definitely not your birthright, as some might feel. This conditioning, it happens externally, partly by just engaging with cultural forces that, let's be honest, are often financially incentivized to thrive on outrage.
They need our reactivity.
They depend on it. It keeps the engine running. But just as damaging, maybe more so, is the internal piece, the problem of inherited rage.
That generational thing.
Yeah, where we adopt these patterns of anger, these specific defense mechanisms, these like explosive reactions, almost like they're a family heirloom. We don't even question them.
And it's those specific ways anger shows up that really bring these abstract ideas home, I think. The material mentions the hot coals we throw. That analogy, wow, it's incredibly visceral.
It really is. It perfectly captures the internal cost, doesn't it? Hot coals. It refers to that quiet anger, that ill will, the kind of grudge or maybe passive aggression you keep rehearsing in your head.
Right, playing it over and over.
Exactly. You think you're maybe harming the target of your anger, but the source material really emphasizes the coal burns the hand holding it. If you spend, say, 3 days rehearsing a conversation in the shower that already happened.
We've all done that.
Right. You are throwing hot coals. You are keeping that battle alive inside yourself. It's self-inflicted.
And that quiet, simmering, unresolved rage, it doesn't just stay quiet, does it? That's how we end up letting old wounds enter new bonds.
Absolutely. That's the mechanism. If you carry unhealed pain, that baggage, it doesn't just vanish when you meet someone new, right?
Yeah.
It slips right into your new friendships, your romantic relationships, and it fundamentally reshapes what genuine closeness and trust even look like. Your past defenses start dictating your present reality.
The notes also push us to look beneath the surface of the anger itself, and there we find something, well, quieter, but maybe just as powerful.
That's the layer of shame. It's described so powerfully as the shapeshifter.
Shapeshifter, yeah.
Anger tends to lash out, right? Shame looks inward. It whispers that critical voice, you shouldn't have felt that, or you're just too much. And shame prevents us from moving forward because it demands concealment. It needs to be hidden. The material suggests it asks to be met later, once the heat is passed, not with harsh analysis or suppression, but simply with the tenderness it was denied in the first place.
So tending to the shame is key after the anger cools.
It's a necessary step, absolutely.
Okay, so if anger is this deeply conditioned habit, then logically it can be unconditioned. This feels like the turning point where the path to freedom actually begins.
Exactly.
And the wisdom shared here, it points directly toward a specific step-by-step practice.
Mhm.
It's described as the Buddha's way of walking through this, well, very complex world.
Mm.
And freedom in this context isn't about escaping the world, getting away from it all. It's about waking up within it.
And what's so fascinating, I think, is how this path is broken down into these incredibly practical steps. They aren't just vague philosophical ideas. They are continuous, concrete acts of returning to clarity.
Like conscious choices.
Conscious choices. Each time you choose one of these steps, you are performing an act of freedom. You're breaking the conditioning moment by moment.
Okay, tell us about those elements. What does this return to clarity look like practically? Starting at the beginning.
Okay, it begins with clear seeing. Simple, but profound. This means understanding that suffering isn't just random bad luck. It has causes.
Right. Things lead to other things.
Exactly. And therefore, freedom from suffering is profoundly possible. Just realizing that possibility provides the motivation you need to even start.
Okay.
And that leads directly to the next step. Wise intention. This is the conscious choice, moment by moment, to prioritize kindness over revenge. Compassion instead of just falling back into blame.
That sounds like, well, it sounds like an exhausting mental battle sometimes. How do we translate that good intention into action when the pressure's really on, when we feel that anger rising?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And that's where truthful speech comes in. It requires us to pause. Just pause before that instinctual lashing out.
That split second.
That split second. It means checking your words, asking, is my purpose here to heal or communicate? Or is it actually to harm or punish? It's the moment we refuse to weaponize our words.
Okay. Speech first, then actions.
Then skillful action. This follows naturally. It means ensuring all your choices, how you spend your money, how you drive your car, how you engage online, everything, are guided by genuine care, not by that knee-jerk rage or maybe paralyzing fear.
That pause, though, that feels like the hardest part. You're trying to stop a runaway train of habit, right?
Mm.
How do we maintain that effort when we inevitably mess up, default back to the old reactions?
Yeah, and we will mess up. That difficulty, that inevitability, is precisely why the fifth element is steadfast effort.
Persistence.
Persistence. It's recognizing this work isn't a one-time fix, it's a continual commitment. It's the discipline of returning again and again to what actually nourishes the heart, like compassion, like understanding, instead of just endlessly rehearsing resentment or reliving old hurts.
So when you catch yourself,
Yeah, if you find yourself thinking that same angry thought for the 10th time that morning, steadfast effort is the inner voice, the mechanism that says, okay, I choose to stop here. I'm going to change the internal script now.
and where does this path, these steps ultimately lead? What's the culmination?
It culminates in mindful presence and steady attention. This is that consistent return to clarity. The ability to see the anger arise, to recognize it for what it is, a temporary condition, a passing storm, and crucially, to not be completely swept away by it.
You see it, but you aren't it.
Exactly. These 6 steps, together, they give you a complete framework. So you're no longer ruled by the raw energy of anger, but guided by the clarity of awareness.
Okay. That brings us nicely to defining what true freedom actually means in this specific framework. Because it's crucial, I think, for listeners to understand this path isn't promising some kind of perfect conflict-free life.
No, not at all. That wouldn't be realistic.
It's promising freedom from the specific poisons, as the material calls them, that keep us locked in these continuous cycles of pain, regardless of what's happening outside us.
Precisely. The material outlines 5 specific poisons we are seeking freedom from, and each one is a different form of mental bondage, really, that prevents clarity. We need to look closely at these because, honestly, they are the traps we fall into every single day.
Okay, let's break them down systematically. Focus on what they look like in practice. What's the first one?
Okay, the first poison is attachment. Now, in this context, it specifically means the craving that clings fiercely to being right.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Right. It's not just wanting the truth. It's the demand for validation, the need to have the last word, that impulse to send that final, mic-dropping text message that ensures your view prevails. That clinging just keeps the friction going.
Okay. So attachment is clinging to being right. What's the flip side of that?
That's the second poison, aversion. This is the active hatred, the pushing away that keeps old battles alive. Aversion is that process you mentioned, rehearsing the argument with your partner in the grocery store aisle,
Yep. Still fuming hours later.
or revisiting a slight from 6 months ago like it just happened. Aversion refuses to let go.
Mm-hmm.
It guarantees the fight lives on eternally inside you, long after the external event is totally over.
So that's about pushing away. What about how we relate to the anger itself? Does that fit in here?
It does. That falls under the third poison, ignorance. This is the blindness, the misunderstanding that leads us to declare, I am my anger, or I'm just an angry person.
Defining yourself with a feeling.
Exactly. It's failing to recognize the feeling is temporary, it's fluid, it's separate from your fundamental self. The analogy used is mistaking a passing cloud for the entire sky. If you do that, you're suffering from ignorance in this context.
Okay. And the poison that feels like it drives so much interpersonal conflict, the me first stuff.
That's the fourth one, self-centeredness. This is that small, insistent inner voice that demands mine, my way, often at the total expense of everyone else's needs or even their reality.
Like road rage.
Road rage is a perfect, intense example. It's that momentary, absolute belief that your priority, your schedule, your interpretation of the traffic rules must override everyone else's existence on the road.
Yeah, that hits home. Okay, and finally, the most encompassing poison, the fifth one, delusion. How do we spot that one in action?
Delusion is described as mistaking the storm for the sky itself. But practically, it's confusing temporary, turbulent emotional experiences, like a mood swing or a flash of fury, with the vast, fundamental, unchanging ground of your being.
So thinking the bad mood is you, permanently.
Right, thinking the storm defines the whole landscape. So freedom, true freedom in this sense, is awakening from these five poisons. It leads to a mind not constantly chained by craving and pushing away, and a heart not perpetually clouded by hatred and confusion.
Wow. Okay, this all sounds, well, incredibly difficult, like a never-ending battle against our own wiring sometimes. How do we shift from feeling like we're constantly fighting these poisons to actually embracing the process of healing? Is there a pivot point?
There is. And the material offers a really beautiful pivot here. Healing begins when we stop fighting what hurts.
Stop fighting it.
Stop fighting it. And here's the core, maybe radical idea. Anger and love are not opposites. They're described profoundly as mirrors.
Mirrors. That really challenges our usual understanding. What does that mirroring relationship show us? How does that work?
Well, anger shows us the exact geography of our wound, you see. It tells us precisely where we feel most vulnerable, where we've been protecting something really tender underneath all the defense mechanisms.
Okay, so anger maps the hurt.
It maps the hurt. And then where anger closes us off, shuts us down, love naturally longs to open. Where anger forces isolation and separation, me against them, love reminds us of our fundamental connection, our belonging.
So anger defines the boundary, maybe where it's been crossed, and love shows the potential beyond that boundary.
Exactly. You put that perfectly. If anger shows us precisely where the lines have been crossed and where we've been wounded, then love shows us what is profoundly possible once that wound softens a bit, once we stop guarding it quite so fiercely. And the amazing thing is, the entire path doesn't require waiting for some perfect calm moment in the future. It unfolds right there in that single critical second when anger rises.
And we choose differently.
And we choose care or wisdom or even just the pause instead of that habitual reactivity. That one choice right there, that's where all the power lies.
We've definitely covered a lot of ground, from the chaos of conditioned rage all the way to this potential for clear seeing. And we've seen the goal isn't reaching some kind of cold, distant detachment.
No, not at all.
It's about finding freedom right here in what the material calls the tenderness of presence. We've learned how to identify the fire of anger, see its causes, and understand these really practical steps out of those painful cycles.
And this journey of knowledge, it continues. Now that we've really sat with the fire of anger, understood its mechanisms, our exploration is going to shift. It moves towards the tender freedom of love.
Right. And that requires us and you, the listener, to grapple with a pretty profound question as you move forward from this deep dive. What does it truly mean to love without holding on too tightly? How do we care deeply for the world, for the people around us, and still allow those things and ourselves the space and the freedom to just breathe?